Mate, the atmosphere around Rangers right now feels like one of those moments when the whole club stops, takes a breath, and realizes something massive has to change. You can sense it everywhere, from the stands to the dressing room door. Ever since the departures up top, the noise has only grown louder, and it is clear that this next step the board takes is going to shape everything that comes next. Folk keep saying the same thing in different ways, but the message is identical. This appointment cannot be another misfire. The margin for error has vanished, and the supporters know exactly why. When you look back at the decisions made since the ownership came in, it is fair to say not much has landed the way it should have. Nobody needs a long explanation. Every fan watched it unfold. You bring in people who think they can breeze through Scottish football with ideas that worked somewhere else, and suddenly reality smacks them straight in the jaw. They underestimated this league, they underestimated the demands, and most of all, they underestimated what it means to work at Rangers. This is not a club where you have years to figure yourself out. You get it right fast, or you get found out even faster. The squad sitting in front of us right now proves the point better than any rant ever could. When you stare at this team as it stands today in late November, it is glaringly obvious how much work needs done. There are gaps everywhere. There is inconsistency everywhere. There is a lack of identity everywhere. And the strangest part is that all of this comes after spending a mountain of money just a few months ago. You look at the summer window and you think, how on earth did we spend so much and end up with so little? How did we throw so much into rebuilding and still find ourselves talking about the same problems, only worse? That is the part that drives supporters up the wall. Transfers were meant to fix things, not drag the team backwards. But instead of adding that Scottish core everyone has been shouting about for years, instead of bringing in a couple of lads who know the league inside out, we went full tilt, chasing names from down south who looked good on paper but did not seem to fit the fight required up here. It was almost like there was this belief that a handful of former Premier League or Championship players would walk the league simply by turning up. And guess what? Scottish football does not work that way. Rangers especially do not work that way. And some of the options that were ignored make it sting even more. There were players right on our doorstep who could have added hunger, intensity, and proper understanding of what it means to grind through this league week after week. But that door never opened. Instead, we went chasing profiles that never matched the reality of the battles ahead. And now we are sitting with a squad full of question marks rather than certainties. You do not even need inside info to see how badly the recruitment misfired. The type of players brought in, the profiles, the roles, it all looked disjointed, and supporters could see it after a couple of matches. The head coach could see it after a couple of training sessions, and now we know Danny Röhl has gone in and given the squad an honest, clinical assessment, the kind of assessment this club has needed for a long time. Rumor has it he used a traffic light approach, marking players as green, amber, or red. And if what has been whispered is true, there were far more reds than anyone at the club wanted to hear. And honestly, you cannot really argue with that. A lot of the signings just have not looked anywhere near the level required. Some look miles off it physically, some tactically, and some simply are not suited to the way Rangers need to play if they want to dominate again. You look across the pitch and you keep seeing the same story repeat itself. New faces arrive, they struggle, they fail to adapt, and the team carries the weight of those limitations every single match day. There are players who came in with big fees and big expectations, and instead of lifting the team, they've done the opposite. Imagine spending that amount on a striker and ending up with someone who struggles to make an impact in the Scottish game. Imagine looking for creativity and drive in midfield and instead ending up with performances that drift in and out of games without any consistency. Imagine signing players to strengthen the defense only to watch the backline look shakier than it did before. Supporters feel it. The club feels it. And now, Röhl has spelled it out clearly to the higher-ups. What seems absolutely clear is that Röhl is not messing around. He has gone straight to the top and made his opinion known. If you give the wrong people the January budget, you risk repeating the same cycle of mistakes. If you keep patching problems with more short-term gambles, the team will stay stuck exactly where it is. And that warning feels like a turning point because for the first time in a long time, you feel like the head coach is stepping forward with authority, not sitting back quietly hoping things improve. He has seen top-level structures. He has worked at clubs where standards are non-negotiable. He knows what a proper squad build looks like. And he is not going to pretend this one is fine when it clearly is not. Just look at some of the players he has inherited. Some barely fit the system. Some look completely off the pace. Some have moments of quality, then disappear for long spells, and others, frankly, look like they were never suited for this environment to begin with. That is not on Röhl. That is on the people who thought they understood Rangers without truly understanding the club at all. And that brings us right back to the upheaval behind the scenes, because the language the club used when the departures were announced was strong. This was not the usual mutual consent line. This was not someone moving on to pursue a new project somewhere else. This was decisive. This was abrupt. This was the club basically saying this was not good enough. When you strip everything back, you can feel that this moment is bigger than just replacing a couple of people in the boardroom. It is about rebuilding trust, rebuilding standards, and rebuilding the sense of direction that has been missing for far too long. Supporters are not daft. They have lived through enough false dawns to recognize when words do not match actions, and that is why this time needs to be different. When the club makes a decision as strong as sacking senior figures, it sends a message that excuses have run out. And now with Danny Röhl pushing for structural change, the spotlight falls straight back on those who are making the next calls at the top. You can already sense that the squad has reacted to Röhl's presence because he demands intensity from the first whistle to the last. He is not here to babysit underperforming players or hide behind the comfort of excuses. You see it in the way he carries himself on the touchline and in how he speaks about mentality. This is a coach who has spent years around elite football where you either meet the level or you are out the door, and it is exactly that mindset Rangers have been screaming out for, because the softness that crept into the team did not just appear overnight. It was allowed to grow. The club has been needing someone who walks in and immediately raises the expectations, someone who refuses to let the standards slip even for a moment. When you look back at periods when Rangers were genuinely dominant, the common thread was always the same: strong leadership from the dugout, figures who set the tone with every team talk, every training session, and every decision. They built teams in their own image, teams that fought, pressed, attacked with purpose, and refused to settle for anything less than winning. Röhl gives off that same aura of someone determined to build a squad that reflects his ideas and not the leftovers of somebody else's failed project. The current group, though, is a strange mix of potential uncertainty and frustration. There are players you can see glimpses in, players who might grow into something worthwhile with the right guidance. Then there are others who look completely mismatched for what Rangers need moving forward. It is almost like the squad was pieced together with no clear identity or long-term strategy. One player brought in because of physicality, another because of speed, another because of resale value, another because of past reputation, but none of them were part of a coherent plan. That is why some games feel disjointed. That is why some positions still feel thin, even after so many arrivals. And that is why Roel stepped in so quickly to evaluate every single individual and sort out who can actually help carry this club back to where it belongs. The traffic light system he reportedly used tells its own story. A new head coach should not need to color code the squad to make a point, yet here we are. When the ambers and reds outnumber the greens, that is not bad luck or teething problems. That is a sign that recruitment was not just a bit off, but fundamentally flawed. It shows decisions were made without understanding the physical demands of the league, the pressure of playing in front of this support, or the pace at which Rangers are expected to dominate matches. You cannot hide at this club. Weakness gets exposed instantly, and too many signings arrived already looking like they were struggling to cope before they had even kicked a ball competitively. You see it right away with some of the forwards who were supposed to give the team a cutting edge. Instead of bringing sharpness and composure in front of goal, they have spent most matches drifting on the periphery, rarely threatening, and often looking unsure in their movement. For Rangers, a striker cannot be a passenger. You need someone who bullies defenses, who makes clever runs, who finishes with confidence. But the players brought in have offered none of that consistently. When your main forward looks hesitant inside the box and uncertain in link-up play, you are fighting uphill before the match even settles. It is the same story in midfield. You look at that area and you keep waiting for someone to stamp authority on the game, to control the tempo, to take the ball under pressure and dictate the flow. Instead, too often the team ends up stretched, disconnected, and scrappy. The signings meant to strengthen that area have not delivered nearly enough. Some disappear for long spells. Others struggle with positioning. Some look lightweight against the relentless physicality of the league. And again, this comes back to recruitment. When you fail to bring in players who understand the tempo and intensity of Scottish football, you end up with a midfield that cannot match the fight of the teams you are facing every weekend. Then you shift your attention to the back line. Rangers should never look vulnerable defensively against domestic opposition. Yet there have been moments this season when uncertainty at the back has cost points and momentum. A centre-half who looks panicked the moment pressure hits is not someone you can rely on. A full-back who cannot track runners or struggles with basic positioning becomes a glaring weakness. And when you add in players who are still adapting or still trying to find rhythm, it creates an environment where mistakes feel inevitable. That is not the foundation you want when you are chasing trophies on multiple fronts. What makes it worse is when you compare the new arrivals to the players who left. You cannot lose top contributors and replace them with uncertainty. It creates a gap in quality that becomes obvious immediately. Rangers needed upgrades, not gambles. They needed players who would make the starting 11 stronger the moment they walked in the building. Instead, too many new signings have needed protection, patience, or hopeful excuses. You cannot build a title-winning team on excuses. You build it on quality, leadership, and consistency. And right now, Roel is one of the only figures at the club showing that sense of clarity. No wonder he has taken such a firm stance with the board. He has made it crystal clear that January cannot be another scattergun window. If Rangers spend money, it must be on players who fit his system, his philosophy, and his demands. He does not want projects for 3 seasons from now. He wants players who can help immediately, who can raise the level right away. The supporters can see that too. For the first time in a long time, it feels like the man in the dugout has an actual plan, not just a collection of vague ideas tied together by hope, and that shift in authority matters. You can feel that Rule's voice is carrying more weight than the outgoing decision-makers. You can sense that the board has recognized the scale of the mistakes made and is now giving the head coach more control over football matters. That is exactly how it should be. A club with Rangers' ambition cannot operate with a divide between the coach and the recruitment team. Every successful era this club has ever had was built on synergy between leadership and squad building, one vision, one direction, one identity. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. A storm's been swirling through Glasgow all day, and it's only getting louder. Whispers first started trickling out of Govan before spreading across the city like wildfire. Lawrence Shankland, long linked with an Ibrox move, is said to have accepted a proposal that would put him on the brink of becoming the new number 9 for Rangers. Nothing official, nothing confirmed, but the murmurings are strong enough to make even the most skeptical punter sit up straight. The rumor, sparked by a well-placed English outlet, claims negotiations have moved from cautious chatting to something far more concrete. Sources close to the situation hint that Shankland is keen on the chance to lead the line in blue, seeing it as the natural next step in his career. Around the city, supporters have already begun debating where he'd fit in the squad, imagining the scenes if he walks out at Ibrox with that famous shirt on his back. Inside football circles, the talk has become impossible to ignore. Some reckon the forward has been quietly preparing for a move of this size, while others insist he's simply weighing up every detail. Either way, the rumor has reached a point where it feels less like idle gossip and more like a kettle close to boiling over. Even in pubs and cafes, you hear the same lines repeated. He's one step away. It's nearly done. That's our new striker sorted. Still, until there's an official word from either camp, all Glasgow has to go on is that tantalizing hum, the kind that usually appears right before something big breaks. And make no mistake, landing Shankland would send shockwaves well beyond the city limits. For now, the city waits, breath held, ears pricked, wondering if the next voice they hear will be the one confirming that Rangers' new number 9 is already chosen, and that his name is Lawrence Shankland. Greetings, fans. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned.